Um, so basically, there's been a lot of discussion lately about, you know, the use of deadly force in law enforcement. And specifically, there's a lot of people that are saying it happens too often. And then on the flip side, there's a lot of people saying you'd be surprised at how little it happens and how uncommon, how rare it is. So, I thought it would be a given that it would be easy to find out just how many people are killed in police shootings every year, and sort of look at the demographics and that sort of thing. And it's a surprise to find out that that information is not tracked on a national level at all. The larger departments locally here do a pretty good job tracking the data locally, but it makes it difficult to compare to other places in the country of similar size, that sort of thing, to see, if there's a trend here, if this is out of the ordinary, or draw any conclusions about the topic of police killings really is not possible when you don't have all the data.
Yeah. So your research found that cities like St. Louis might keep pretty good numbers. Cities like New York, Raleigh, El Paso, Des Moines, Omaha, Iowa, or Iowa's a state, but some of those cities, they actually keep pretty good records, but overall nationally you can't find the numbers.
Correct. So it's sort of an incomplete picture. All of those places will report the numbers to the FBI, and the FBI then puts out a report called the UCR Crime Stats, Uniform Crime Reporting System. And the other thing about the crime stats is that the category under which police shootings are tracked is called justifiable homicide, and these departments are not required to submit the data to that category.
So,
it's all voluntary.
So it's just deemed a justifiable homicide by the person who's filling out the form?
Pretty much. Most police departments, I know here locally in St. Louis and St. Louis County, they have designated people who specialize in interpreting the UCR program and the rules and all of that. But for a smaller department too, absolutely, you have to. It leaves up to interpretation. It's voluntary. It's all those things.
I am shocked after reading this story, Christine Byers, that the FBI does not keep track, especially with all of this conversation about racial profiling and civil rights violations and all of that. I am just shocked that the feds have no way of giving you that number, giving anybody that number. I mean, that's just shocking to me.
Back in 1994, Congress passed some legislation, and part of that was requiring police departments to report their use of deadly force. The International Association of Chiefs of Police was the agency that was tapped to be the collection agency, if you will, and generate reports based on the data. And back in 2001, federal funding for that whole program ran out, and it has not been touched since.
Yeah. Go ahead, Kelly.
I was going to say, well, I had two questions, but the first one I wanted to ask you about was what I find interesting, but the Department of Justice, though, in your article says they keep very close track, obviously, of the number of police officers who are killed in the line of duty.
Exactly.
And what is that number?
They do keep track of officers killed in the line of duty and the demographics on the officers and the suspects and that sort of thing. And that's readily available, so you can get an accurate picture of when officers are killed, certainly. But on the flip side, you can't.
There are some people in the police world who want to be able to find out that number, right?
Yeah, that was actually kind of surprising to me. When I was working on the story, I was kind of wondering if, maybe this is intentional. Maybe there's an effort out there on the part of police agencies to keep secret the number of people killed in police shootings every year. And in fact, I was surprised to find that the International Association of Chiefs of Police and the nonpartisan, non-membership organization, the Police Foundation, actually really want this data because they said that for police chiefs and police administrators, it would help them. It would better help them guide their policies and look at their trends and better analyze, if they are using too much or too little force, and look at their training and better evaluate and come up with best practices. I kind of thought, was this like a dirty little secret that, intentionally is not being tracked and on a national level? And when you talk to police agencies and police chiefs, it's quite the opposite, which I was kind of surprised to find that out.
Yeah.
How hard is it to find out if police officers involved in these shootings, if they're even charged?
That's impossible. I mean, so you have some of the data, at least, is kept. Like I said, the larger cities and the ones that McGraw mentioned, they do report to the FBI their numbers. So, for example, last year there were about 400 fatal police shootings reported, and the demographics of the officers involved as well as the suspects that were killed. But when it comes to shootings that are deemed to be murder of some sort, those numbers are not kept. They're presumably just lumped into the city's overall homicide number. So you never know that it was actually a police officer involved in that. So I kind of just in the story, I took a sampling of several cases that a local criminologist from UMSL had worked on, and it was fascinating to see. There were 3 examples listed, and in one of them, the officer was charged with manslaughter, and he was convicted.
Yeah. Christine Byers' story was in Sunday's St. Louis Post-Dispatch. You can certainly get it online. Christine, what has been the reaction that you've received since the story came out?
Well, I got a lot of positive reaction from police administrators. Certainly the people, the organizations I quoted in my story liked it. And then some local police chiefs who have talked about this issue for a while, said that they were glad that I brought attention to the issue. But I think that I'm really not sure why, but I think it's just we're in such an emotional, volatile time in our society with this whole situation that the story and the presentation itself rubbed a lot of readers the wrong way. Felt like it was in your face and further contributing to the racial tension when it was simply a story to point out that any judgments that anyone is trying to make about how much or how little police force is used in this country are pointless because there's no data to support it either way.
That's a really interesting point. Story is another must-read by our friend Christine Byers over at the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Christine, what are you hearing? I asked this and I joked because we were making fun of it earlier, but what are you hearing about when the grand jury is going to be released?
What's the word on the street?
Every day it's just, there's so much tension. There's all these people calling us saying, we got emails from our employer, and there's a lot of emails going around to, companies and hospitals and schools and the whole thing. Everybody's really on edge. And as a response to that, the prosecuting attorney, Bob McCullough, put out a statement yesterday to basically say, this just in, everything I said before is still the same.
Right.
So, so we're still told mid to late November.
Right. So don't believe a random tweet or a random email from a stranger, but believe the guy who's actually in the room conducting the investigation.
Yes.
Yeah. Christine Byers with us. As always, Christine, thanks for getting up. You sounded great. Take care of that voice, and we'll talk to you down the road.
Okay. Thanks, McGraw.
7:31 here, Big 550 KTRS.